Well, meanwhile, a potential new addition for Facebook, CEO Mark Zuckerberg, who also potentially could have seen himself running for president before, not so much anymore, he was floating an idea to pay publishers to put content on a dedicated news section on the social media platform. Take a listen.
I think that there's a real opportunity within a separate news surface to have better monetization for publishers than we have today in newsfeed, because the relationship that we'll have there is that, unlike a newsfeed where friends might see a link somewhere and pass it along, and in this case, Facebook could potentially have a direct relationship with publishers in order to make sure that their content is available in this, if it's really high quality content.
So there you go, guys. A little bit of a talk with the CEO of Axel Springer there, publisher. What do you make of that? Because obviously Facebook will be changing its kind of policy there, but we're already seeing Apple potentially trying to work with publishers as well.
I think that's my first point was going to be Apple announcing last week and doing their big reveal with working with more publishers. I think this is exciting. As someone with a journalism degree, we have seen our field go through so much over the last decade. To see a platform that has the financial backing like Facebook say that we will publicly invest and pay for the content is important, and I think it's a great opportunity for them to leverage those eyeballs to have a curated experience.
Yeah, but Brian, it'd be a big 180 from them saying before, we want to have less news in your news feed because people don't want it.
And I think this comes down to kind of the debate about, I think there's two threads to pull from here. The point that you just made, Sharia, which is that, this is a great thing if you're in the journalism industry. The monetization model is something that the industry has been grappling with for, the beginning of basically the TV era. But I think that the other side of the coin is the question about whether or not we should have news on social media to begin with. We talk so much about the polarization of politics in the modern day, and you can make the argument that it only gets exacerbated through social media because you can follow who you want to follow, you can not follow who you don't want to follow. It's the same case on Facebook. You can just make sure that you're only friends with the people that have the same political views as you. So you kind of silo yourself, and the content that I imagine you would get pushed on those social media sites would be more aligned to that.
And it kind of gets tricky too, though, if they're only allowing, I guess, proven publishers to put news in this section as well, but it would help them on another problem that they've been facing in terms of not just Facebook, but all of the entities that they own. They also own WhatsApp, and it's taking a step to stop the spread of misinformation and fake news in India by launching a tip line enabling users to point out, quote, suspect information for removal. That, according to the Wall Street Journal. Of course, India has a big election coming up, and that clearly is something that they're trying to make sure that fake news will not I guess, sway those kinds of elections in India, as we saw them sway other elections around the world. But I guess it's just another problem. No matter how Facebook tries to deal with this, this is going to be an issue, whether it's protecting elections, whether it's trying to figure out what news is real, or in India, a tip line to make sure people can report news that looks suspect.
Well, it used to be fairly black and white, right? When it comes to an election, for example, it's the government that tries to make sure it's a fair process. But now with these social media apps and this kind of prevalence of this new technology that we've never seen before, you have the questions about, you have a company in California that can have a humongously, influential impact on the largest democracy in the world, in India. And I think that raises questions not just for the United States government, but for governments like India and those around the world to
it's
figure
funny
out.
when you throw that back to what this actually started as. It was a guy in his dorm room.
It was just some guy in California
floating around. Is this person hot? Is this person not?
Putting some faces on books on the internet.
And now they're swaying.
And look at it now.
It's more than a guy in California. It's our innate desire as human beings to connect. And so he made it easier. And so now, because of the intimacy and it's in your phone and it's coming from a friend, there is that higher propensity to believe wrong information. So there is a higher responsibility. And because of the past, we know what can happen. And so I think it's very important that they be proactive.
Yeah, and we'll see if this tip line at least might help things in India. But for now, we've got to